Yes.
All right, if everybody would please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to start off by thanking everybody for being here. The purpose of this meeting, and the reason why I requested this meeting was to present a letter that I want sent out to the public of Harlem Township explaining the current item that I'm sure everybody has heard about the possible talking about looking at emerging with Westerville to help protect the township. And like I said, it's just a possible merger idea. There's nothing etched in stone. We're going to start the negotiation and making sure that the contract is going to be written the way that we want it. So at this time, I'm going to ask if my two fellow trustees have had a chance to look over the letter. If there's any corrections or changes that you'd like to submit. And if not, I'd entertain a motion to move on sending this letter to the public.
I've looked it over and I agree with the wording.
Mr. Chairman, I've looked at the letter and agree with the wording.
I will go ahead and actually make the motion myself since I wrote this letter or was part of writing this letter. I'm sorry. I'd like to make a motion to approve the letter to the residents regarding, and Kendra, I'd like this changed on this, the way this is worded, to a letter of the option of a possible merger with the city of Westerville. I'd like for that to be the motion, please. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That is the extent of business. I'm going to open this up to the public. Let's try to, since we got so many people here, I'd like to ask if we could keep it to just short 3-minute comments. I'm sure there's a lot of questions that are going to be repeats. So let's just try to keep that down the best we can. So who'd like to be first? Mr. Singer, if you would please go to the vote.
Bob Singer, 10555 Center Village Road, Helena, Ohio. If the residents of the township, through the meetings that are held, overwhelmingly turn down or verbally turn down the notion, will the trustees take the issue off the board as far as voting on it? Proposing it on the ballot.
I guess my first question is why would we not allow the voters to choose?
My question is, if there's an overwhelming response.
How do I regulate that pulse? I mean, Bob.
Let's say there are 300 people at each meeting.
Okay.
And 90% of those don't feel comfortable with this. And you receive phone calls and you receive emails. Why would you go through the process?
Well, first of all, I have roughly 4,800 residents in this township. You just spoke, I mean.
That's residents, not voters.
I understand that. I understand that wholeheartedly. But I mean, I personally would think I would be doing a disservice if I didn't allow the voters to make that decision.
Okay.
That's
I respect
my
that.
personal.
I respect that. Will you consider why do we have to have you vote in March to put it on the ballot?
Why, what, I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I believe March 20th, there's going to be a vote whether to put it on the ballot. I think I read that and
No,
No,
that's not correct.
it is not.
No.
no.
That's what I believe the westervilleharlem.org said. Anybody?
I mean, is that referring to the city council?
I don't have that in front of me, but there's a vote in March for the trustees to officially vote to proceed with the.
Oh, okay,
intent
yeah.
to merge.
I thought are you referring to that or you referring to?
There's a 120-day period for negotiations on that agreement. And assuming we reach agreement, I think the final date is like Memorial Day.
Yes.
And following that, we have to hit a date shortly thereafter to post, to put the item on the
Okay.
ballot.
All right,
So there are months here
okay,
for us to
that,
keep working
that
on.
was not
This is not
clear.
right here. It's out here
Okay,
for discussion and
That-
education.
that's great.
And that's why, I mean, this is, there's a lot of time to talk for people to understand, to get all the facts.
Okay, that's fair.
You know, there's a lot of folks online spreading non-facts. And I was asking if anybody read the news article, one of the biggest things I asked the reporters is please ask the residents of Harlem Township to get all the facts, to get all the information before they make decisions. Be it for it, be it against it. At the end of the day, you know, it's y'all's choice. All this board is going to do is make a decision on whether or not to move forward with the negotiation.
Okay, and again, that's fair. The only other question I have is, has the board discussed a new fire levy?
We haven't discussed officially. I know there's been conversations.
Well, the reason I ask is that is on next door, that there's going to be a fire levy because of increased costs. And for services.
I think, and I'm speaking to folks that I know are intelligent. We haven't had a fire levy per se increase since 2006. Am I correct on my dates? This is 2024. Anybody drive here today? Anybody buy gas in the last week? Anybody buy food in the last, month? Anybody buy a car, a truck? Prices have gone up. This township, and as I told everybody 2.5 years ago, we'd all like to be able to build that wall down on our southern border, but those don't go over well, apparently. Well, they don't. And please, I would, yeah. I would like as much respect from the audience as I give when they're speaking.
Can't make outlandish comments and expect people not to be quiet.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just saying, we know we can't do that. And we know that there's going to be change. There's no way around it. And all we can do is try to build some sort of a barrier. And as a township, we have no power other than the zoning that we implement and the power of referendum by the public. Read the newspaper, which I'm sure everybody does. Right now in the Senate, in legislation, there is discussion of removing zoning and the power of referendum from townships. This is coming from big developers towards the legislation, and that's a bigger dollars than we have. If they remove those two factions, those two only our last two protections. So as a township, we will be standing with no protection. This is why the thought even came up of merging potentially with a city. We chose to talk to Westerville. We've spoken with other communities. And that's the only one that seemed to even have a close resemblance to giving us what we wanted. So that's why we're where we're at.
Can you share who, I know that Mike Cannon, Jim Steele Smith, Matt Yeager, and Holly Matty met with the city of Westville. Can you share who else?
I've talked to them.
Okay. Dave, have you talked to them?
I've just met them. We had a conversation, just an introduction.
Okay, so you haven't specific, okay,
I mean, there's been no, it's been mostly an informal invite.
Yeah.
I've talked to them because I've sitting on the strategic planning committee.
Okay. Will you be having at some point a public meeting like at the church, like?
We're having them tonight.
Well, will you be taking direct questions to
I'll
three
be there.
trustees?
I'll be there.
Okay, and next week as well?
I'll be there.
Okay, great. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, sir. Please, if you would, please. And that way there, everybody out there can hear you too.
Brad Moore, I live at 10689 Keller Pines Court, Galena. So I think most everybody was really surprised by the news release and the emails that came out yesterday. It seemed to be on a very short timeline. People are not understanding the, I guess, the quickness at which all this evolved and without any inkling that it was going to happen. They were taken off guard by surprise. And because of that, it seems a little underhanded and shady. People are not sure why it's just now coming to light after 2 years of discussions have been going on with the Strategic Planning Committee. So the first question is, how are you going to build the trust of the people, knowing that this came about very quickly and really out of the blue? I
For
mean,
the last 2.5 years roughly, the strategic planning committee has been in existence.
Right.
Since day one, there has always been the comment made that at some point we would most likely have to look at a strategic partnership with someone, be it a large developer, be it a municipality. That's been for the last 2.5 years. That conversation with the strategic planning committee coming to meetings, making their reports.
I've been to some of the meetings.
I understand. I didn't realize that. We then, our last trustee meeting, the strategic planning committee came and said that they had met with and had talked to several, and that they had decided to work as a strategic partner with the city of Worcester. In that week's time, and basically, they've discussed, they came up with that this is the best option, that Westerville, because we've looked at JEDs, we've looked at all the other little alphabet soup items out there. And none of those will work other than piecemealing the township. And that's exactly what we're trying to stop, is the piecemealing of the township. Because that is our concern, that annexation is developer municipality driven. So they have to be contiguous, which we have, basically 4 on our borders that could potentially. The last thing I'm assuming everybody in this room wants is to have any part of Harlem Township annexed, I would assume.
Well, but isn't this almost an annexation by Westerville?
The difference, no, because this is a contract. This will be a contract between the township and the city. We are going to negotiate an agreement. Part of the things that I have told this board, that the strategic planning committee, I said, whoever we work with, whoever, there are certain things that cannot be taken off the table. Our zoning stays intact. I'm sorry, I'm probably going to make one of those comments. I can go in my backyard and shoot my gun if I want to, as long as I'm, living within the law. I can hunt on my acreage. I can drive my 4-wheeler down the road. The tractors can run up and down the highway to do their harvesting. All the things that make our rural life, those have got to stay intact. And this is all going to be part of that agreement.
Okay, so I guess the question is the fast trackness of it. It seems like without, the the release was yesterday, the meetings are today, tomorrow, some people can't make them. It just seems odd that it was fast tracked in such a manner.
Well,
And
this is
so
like
I know it doesn't set well with a lot of people.
This is going to be a 9-month process.
Okay, all right, but
It's not, the only thing that's being decided, to be honest with you, the only reason why I called this meeting, I could have probably done this on the phone. But the last thing I want to do is have anybody be able to come to me and look at me and say that we're doing something behind y'all's back. I put this out there. This could have been done that way. But I wanted this on a public forum. I wanted this to be brought out in public and agreed to in front of them.
Okay, just one last question.
Yes.
So I've been to a number of the strategic planning committee meetings. I know they've been working on it for 2.5 years. After all those studies and surveys and public meetings and trustee meetings, there were probably a number of options that the group, the trustees and the planning committee came to. I think everyone would be interested in knowing what those other options were, since so much time and energy has been spent on this massive study. So other than the Westerville merger, what other options were there that you all came to the conclusion of? I can't believe that the merger with Westerville is the only conclusion that you came to. So what were the other conclusions that had a positive outcome?
We went to the other.
Carl, that'll be the core, or one of the core topics tonight and next Wednesday.
I understand that, Steve, but as he said, there may be folks that can't be there.
It'll be taped.
I will, I'm going, Steve, I will answer that as best I can, all right? We discussed the JEDs, those things with not just Westerville, other municipalities. We went to other municipalities and asked if they were interested in working with us. One of the first things we would do is we would say, the first thing we want is a non-annexation agreement. One community was absolutely, no, we won't sign that. We walked away from them instantly. Another community, and they're not here to defend themselves. This is me saying it, you take it for what you want, but they're another community. They've currently annexed 1,000 acres just outside of they took over part of Trenton Township. I don't think we want to deal with somebody that's coming out of Stafford. One community to the south of us, I was emphatically told 2.5 years ago, we don't want anything to do with those folks. The other one south of us, they said they had no desire to work. So we walked away from that. Johnstown has nothing really to offer. So we didn't go that direction.
One last quick question. So, okay, Columbus is clearly making their sewer line up through the township. How is this going to prevent Columbus from continuing that sewer line? Because from what I understand, he who controls the sewers controls the land.
Actually, he who controls the water and the electric, but that sewer line is what was originally agreement through, if I understand, Bob, you probably have more information. 1991.
Columbus and Delaware County.
Delaware County.
Delaware County will have total rights to sewer and putting all of the lines in.
All right, so let me back up. So even though Columbus is expending the capital to put these massive lines in, Westerville is going to take them
No.
over.
Columbus is putting a trunk line in to receive the sewer.
They're not bringing it into Delaware. It's Delaware, it's the county or the municipality, whoever this happens to be. It's their responsibility, the developers or whatever it's tied to it. Correct, Bob?
Okay.
Right. Yep, Mike, please.
I'm Mike Cabler. My address is 12040 Gorsuch Road, Westerville. Westerville meaning I'm still in Harlem Township. But I have a Westerville mailing address. As some of you have New Albany, Johnstown, etc. Yeah, there's a bunch of them up there. Coming up to basically just ask a question, what lies ahead with regard to what has happened up to this point. As you've heard, people are surprised. I'm surprised as chairperson of the zoning commission. I participated in some of the meetings of the strategic planning, and the term merger was never introduced until the first meeting in February. I heard that term for the very first time. I think that's what's surprising everyone, because it surprised me. But doesn't mean that I'm against it necessarily. I just don't know what the details are. So that's going to be my question. As we continue to move the process forward, there is going to be negotiations taking place, because you've already basically committed that the process is going to continue to move forward. And with that, at some point down the road, then there will be an agreement. Are we, meaning us, the community, going to know what's in that agreement? Are we going to be able to see the agreement before you sign it or before you take action to approve it? Because personally, I want to have that opportunity, and I'm sure most people do. Because the devil's always in the details.
The plan is simply because the three of us can't be in a room together when we're meeting.
Right. No, I understand
The
that.
plan is going to be that the strategic planning committee is going to continue working with, I'll be on that board because I'm on that board. That we're going to continue working this negotiation, I get the better choice, word negotiation, this contract. We're going to continue working that. Then that will be brought to the trustees. Any recommendations, any things like that, and then it will be discussed in an open forum. Yes. And the short answer to your question, yes, it'll be presented to the public.
Thank you, because that's really important in my view.
Oh, I agree, sir. Anybody else?
Real quick
Okay.
question, who is going to the table with the township in terms of professional representation? No offense. to
No,
anyone.
none taken. We have legal counsel that we,
This will be,
yeah,
that's, you approve them.
Yeah.
Okay,
they will be making sure that all the i's are dotted too, because you're absolutely right, sir. I am not a legal professional.
But they're better than the other ones you had.
Okay. I don't know which one
The
you're
other
referring to.
attorneys you had wasn't no good.
I don't know which one you're referring to, but okay. Yeah, something, sir, go ahead.
Morning, my name is Louis Greenwell. I live at 11665 Center Village Road. So I've got several questions. When was the first time that you met with Westerville to discuss the merger? Or possible partnership, strategic partnership?
First time the strategic planning committee met with them?
Sure, yeah, let's start with that.
That would have been when we first started talking about JEDs.
Yeah, I'm guessing it was. Hi, I'm Steve Eisenbrown, Harlem Road. I have to go back and look at the notes, but it was either late 22 or early 23. About the time we were holding the series of 10 meetings that were in this room. We were talking and educating people on all the gobbledygook alphabet. And we started looking at possible strategic partners at that time.
Sure, so the term strategic partner, as you said, has been used from the beginning, and not merger partner, but strategic partner. And the way it was explained throughout many of the meetings, it was, we need to find a developer that will work with us. We need to find maybe a neighboring community that will work with us, because the big scare is Columbus, right?
Right.
That is the biggest threat of all, is the city of Columbus taking over Harlem. Okay. So you met with multiple, just like you asked us to find the facts, you met with multiple communities. Your consultant has said that really you only met with one, and that was Westerville. Your planning consultant has said in other public forums that you met with one. So
I can give you dates.
is there a record
I
of those
can-
conversations? Did anyone from those other communities come to the strategic planning committee?
We went to them, we had developers come to us.
Okay.
On February 21st of 2023, Holly met with Jill Love of
From-
Galena.
Okay.
Is that, no,
Yeah,
Mayor.
Mayor,
former mayor of Galena.
Yep.
I'm sorry, thank you.
Now,
Met with her, and that was when we asked, our first question out of the mouth of
Okay.
Holly was, can we get a non-annexation? And the answer was no.
So these other partners never came to the strategic
Other
planning
than the
committee
developer knew.
to have an open discussion that would be on camera.
I can't think of any that did know.
And
And I'll be honest with you, most of them are very non-committal.
that's fine.
And as soon as you tell them that we're gonna have it zoomed or on camera, they weren't available.
So, the entire strategic planning committee participated in this review and fact finding. And was able to review all the options and make a decision to make a
I went through
recommendation.
The entire board didn't go to any one meeting, but the entire board was informed of each meeting.
Was there a meeting where the entire board approved a recommendation to go this route?
Would have been this one, yeah. No.
Which one?
The board,
There was a vote by the strategic planning committee that made the recommendation? Or was it just a few members of the strategic planning committee that made the recommendation?
well, the board brought the recommendation to the trustees to work with Western.
Right.
But the strategic planning committee doesn't operate by itself, right? There has to be some recommendation from that committee. You think the committee would have met and said, we as a committee want to do this, and we are formally as a committee, all of us, making a recommendation to the trustees to proceed. Did the committee make that recommendation, agree, vote on because in all the committee meetings, you follow Robert's Rules of Order. You take minutes, you vote on this, you make motions. You spent 2 years working on a comprehensive plan that was really good and that set us up for the future. And then a recommendation just comes out of the blue. We need a merger. That, as was said before, that seems like, where'd that come from? Where was the discussion? Where was the review by the committee in front of the cameras to talk about why do we need a merger?
Well, we could.
I mean, I thought we had all the meetings.
Oh, gee,
You're
my
hooked, Steve.
electronics, my leash. We said at our opening meeting this past January, we talked about the work plan for the year, and we talked quite a bit about finding partners, given that a number of the people, we realized that with all the work we did on developing the overlay districts and successfully got those put through, that alone wasn't enough. And because, as Carl said, as the discussions took place with the 4 surrounding communities, of that, 3 of them basically said, now we're not going to give you what you want. And so that led us, following that meeting, and we said in that meeting, strategic partnering is key to what we want to accomplish. Because we don't think the other tools will get us there without being a piecemeal implementation, which is not what we want. So at that point, we started talking about what would it take to work with Westerville.
When you say we, who's we?
We, the strategic planning committee.
Okay.
And, once you're going to go off, no decisions have been made. The only decision was made was to go have some discussions with Westerville. And the reality is, it's just like anything else. If you're going to do the background work to bring forward a proposal of this magnitude, we need an opportunity to get our ducks in a row. And that's what we've been doing. When that finally led to the meeting with the trustees a week ago, saying that the strategic planning committee formally requests approval to pursue a partnership leading to a merger in Westerville.
I understand all that, and I watched the video, I saw the transcripts. My question
I
is,
don't know what we said, but we said we want to pursue a strategic
but sure, that was, those were the words that were used, but at which strategic planning meeting did the committee say, we think this is a good idea? All those in favor of making a
wasn't one. We did that privately. Because if we had those conversations, getting our ducks in a row, as I say, it would have been chaos. And we would never been able to work through some of the early details.
I understand about making the sausage, that you have to,
To answer your question.
but you're not, you've got it's a simple question, which meeting?
Yeah.
So I was checking my notes on this. The March 5th Strategic Planning Committee is on a Tuesday. That is when we had anticipated the Strategic Planning Committee making the official recommendation, like on the record today. And the March 6th was the trustees meeting where this will be motion.
Wait,
No.
March, March of last year or this year?
Not
So,
March.
so the committee has not made the formal recommendation yet to the trustee.
February 29th.
Right, no, but what I'm saying is, the announcement to pursue this is not the same as the official, like, making motions. Part of the issue is that as soon as this would be discussed in any public forum, you'd have press, media.
Sure.
Heyday, we had to coordinate with Westerville on the announcement that this is being pursued. But then there's like the actual steps to follow all the,
Well, there's months of steps.
yeah.
So how is it,
I'm making sense.
how is it that the strategic planning committee via the consultant Holly came to the trustees last week and said, we, as a member of the strategic planning committee, we're recommending moving forward with Westerville as a
I tried to
strategic
tell you
partner.
that.
If they haven't approved it yet. If the
No, no.
committee hasn't even voted.
No.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is, we had multiple meetings to talk about Westerville as a strategic partner. They were not public. They do not have to be public. We are not a government committee. We are an advisory committee to the township. And so if you're thinking sunshine laws and other things, we're not bound by that. And so again, we felt that we needed to do the appropriate amount of work to understand how this proposal could work for the township. And so we met in the background together and with people from Westerville to figure out what would this look like for our township? And how could this be a good solution, given that we were up against the wall with our other thoughts that we had been pursuing previously? That led to the strategic planning committee agreeing to formally advance this publicly to the trustees.
And I'm asking, which meeting did that occur?
Oh, it probably happened literally 1 week before. It was not a public meeting. There is no record of that meeting. There doesn't, it's
So it
not a
didn't happen.
requirement to be
Okay,
a record.
so it's part, you're saying some of the strategic planning committee decided, not all.
No, we all were in the meeting. Everybody
Was
participated.
there a vote?
It didn't require a vote. It's a planning committee. It's an advisory board. It's not a judicial or legal organization. We're here, all the volunteers, by the way, have been working for 2.5 years, looking at ways to bring some answers forward after the Intel announcement. That was the genesis. And so as we kind of worked through the options and along the way also did the overlay stuff, which is still valid because we'll utilize that work going forward in the future. We got to the point and early in this year where it appeared that Westerville,
Get that out of here.
that Westerville could be a possible option for us to achieve our end goals. And at that point, we did the background work in February to get us to the point that we could approach the trustees and say, we suggest that you allow us to further pursue a strategic partnership with Westerville. That's the answer.
So I just want to, for the record, that the recommendation that was made at the trustees meeting that the request or the intent to do this was really done behind closed doors. The agreement from the strategic planning committee, all the other work that they've been doing has been out in the public and open. This decision, this life-changing decision for the resident, potentially for the residents of Harlem Township, was made behind closed doors and presented as a recommendation from the strategic planning committee when it really wasn't. Because it was never the strategic planning committee from what she just said, was not set to vote on this or approve this
There's
until.
nothing nefarious here. You want to read into stuff that, look, I mean, I came to this township 11 years ago. My wife's family grew up here. I'm trying to volunteer to find some answers to a very difficult problem, okay? There has been total transparency by the Strategic Planning Committee until we got to the point that we realized if we were going to consider the possibility of working to that degree of depth with Westerville, we needed to do some fact-finding work to get to the point that we knew that thing could possibly make sense. We got to that point. We brought it publicly to allow people to understand that we were gonna, the trustees to understand that we were gonna further pursue that. And as I have said, we are at the starting line as of yesterday in this process. There is no decision. There is a recommendation from the Strategic Planning Committee taken to the trustees to investigate the intent to merge with Westerville. We have months of work ahead of us, which will be conducted in a public fashion. Right? We are going to have, besides the informational meeting tonight and next Wednesday, we'll be having a whole series. In fact, if you look at the timeline in the FAQ, there will be a whole series of public information gathering for our township residents to make sure they've had their chance to voice what they want as we work through that agreement. And you will absolutely be aware of what's in that agreement. And so, you know, come on in, join the meetings. There's going to be a huge amount of work to get to the point that these guys can make a decision towards the end of May. And then it goes to the ballot. And after May, assuming that there is a decision to take it to the ballot with an agreement that we like, with the conditions in it that we think are core principles for what Harlem Township wants, and those haven't changed, then there will be further educational work done post-May to, again, continue to educate. Now, at that point, taking input to make changes isn't valid because agreement has then been agreed, and so then the process goes forward. But we will still be meeting with residents, probably on out to election day. So make sure people understand, A, what does this mean? Why did we come to this? And that will be the basis of what we talk about tonight. But how is this going to work for the Harlem Township residents? So, you know, I know it was a shock, right? A month ago, it was a month and a half ago, it's kind of shock to me too. I hadn't really foreseen merger as a possible option. But as I started to learn more as a member of a resident at large on the committee, started to look at the options, and I came to the conclusion that I don't think a lot changes in my life day in and day out. Now, obviously, there are other implications where we have a lot to talk about on the financial side, the impact of people on taxes of different sorts. But I came to the conclusion we should go learn more. And that's where we are today. So nothing nefarious.
So you just said as up to 2 months ago, you had never considered merger, yet
We
we just talked about that. You've been talking about strategic partners for 2 years and merger never entered the conversation.
It didn't seem
You
to
were
be,
shocked.
it didn't seem to be an option.
Up until about, I didn't even know what a merger was. I didn't know it existed.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're so scared of Columbus that we're willing to just dissolve.
We're not scared.
You ought to be scared of
We-
Columbus. You better be.
You know, alls I can say is, I know I've been tasked with doing what I can to protect the township. And I've looked at the options, and that's why I recommended this go out to the public and explain why we are doing what we're doing.
Well, as you said before, restoring that trust is going to be a big issue, and us trying to understand the facts, asking all the questions we can. The less you do things behind closed doors and do it out where we can all see it, the better.
Right.
Amen.
Right. First of all, the trustees, this wasn't, that board is not a governmental entity. It can meet,
Right.
they volunteered.
They were appointed,
They-
charter accepted by the trustees, and they.
How's your meeting going?
Yes.
How will you release the letter tomorrow? Like email?
This is gonna go out, this is gonna go out here later today. It'll be emailed, it'll be on the website. It'll be on the website. It'll probably be on Nextdoor. We're probably gonna try to hit every potential avenue we can.
First I heard of any of this was on Nextdoor, which again, with the trust thing, you know, like how I have to scroll through 2 pages of garbage to
Understand.
find something so important.
Well, next door doesn't build trust.
No,
But you're right, you know.
that shouldn't have been the first.
Interesting enough, or Jill Love posted to the Big Walnut Community Facebook page.
Yeah.
This website that's called Westerville Harlem
Yeah.
.com or .org. And yeah, being uninformed, that website looked to me like it was a done deal.
Yeah, well, that was one more comment. I'll get out of your way.
No,
That was released mistakenly a day early.
That
Oh, oh.
that was gonna be my question.
Okay,
Then the
so
next day. I
Bob
got an
found it,
email
a
from
few
the
other
strategic
people
planning.
found it.
Yeah.
And so then the games began. I mean that, you know, kidding.
It was sent.
Huh?
I didn't find, someone sent it.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. I mean,
I didn't.
because I was surprised too,
Yeah.
because I went to it to get some information, and when I looked at it the day before, I said, well, this appears public to me. I wonder, you know, and then you just unfolded. So that was inadvertent. Again, you can say, well, we were trying to hide it. No, we were trying to have it ready to go to be able to release this information to the community in a respectful manner. But we are where we are. And that's the question over here was, well, you answered, how are we gonna release your letter? It'll be out today in multiple vehicles after this meeting.
And I just request Carl, that everyone here today receive a copy before they leave.
we can do that. I mean, if the board's okay with that, we can make a bunch of copies. Can we just do 1 copy per family? Anybody else?
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Juanita Burke. I'm over at 10745 Fancher Road. Why do we need this merger?
Well,
Y'all are talking.
primarily,
The opportunity to come tonight.
Oh, we're gonna be there.
Well, that's a core part.
But I want to know why we need it now and why this was so secret that it couldn't be posted on the internet. My friend didn't even know about it, and thank you for calling us.
why, what was it?
This meeting, why is it so secret?
This meeting?
Yeah.
This meeting was
I
posted.
wish it- We could have found
This
it.
meeting was posted everywhere that we have access to. I mean, we don't have a daily newspaper anymore, so we have certain places we have to post it. And as I said earlier, to be honest with you, the full intent of this meeting
Right.
was just to allow the rest of the board to approve this letter that I want to send, that I propose to send out to the residents.
Another thing is, and if y'all go through with this, because it sounds like everything we read on that merger sounded like it went through already. If it hasn't gone through, what's this gonna do to our kids' education?
Schools stay the same.
schooling?
Schools,
How can that be if we're paying Westerville taxes? and
No,
what's
it's
the-
not
There, by Ohio law, remain the same.
They're independent. Doesn't change.
It's in the Ohio Revised Code. School districts remain exactly the way they are.
Okay, so who are my taxes going to?
Any
You will
tax,
pay Westerville tax, certain Westerville taxes, you will pay the school taxes to the school system.
yeah, the different levies are divided up based on like what they're for. So any levies that are currently for the school board will remain the same. Anything that's like a fire levy or a general fund levy that's like township specific will change to the Westerville specific.
So
ones.
now we
School
have to
district
wait on
taxes will
somebody
change.
from Westerville to come up and.
Actually, your fire department, that's part of our deal. Part of what we said is our fire department will stay intact. One thing we will gain if this goes through is one of the promises that have been made is that we will have to 24/7 Harlem Township and Harlem Township police coverage. I mean, but our fire stays the same.
And so Westerville will take care of our fire department as far.
Our fire department stays intact.
But our police
Harlem
department is
Township.
now will now then be Westerville.
Yes. Right now, we don't have a police department.
Right.
We have the sheriff's department and,
Basically,
Whoever.
we have the sheriff's department,
Occasionally highway patrol.
occasionally highway patrol if there's a good enough accident. Anything else?
Come tonight.
Please, please, please come tonight. And as I said at the beginning, is anybody out there, Kendra, that wants to talk that we know?
There's a hand raised by Jen.
Jen?
Yes. Yes,
sorry.
thank you.
I don't have a screen in front of me. I'm turning around backwards, so please go ahead, Jen.
Okay, thank you. I'm at 6235 State Route 605. So I have two main questions that haven't been answered, so I'm going to go ahead and ask them, and I may still come tonight. But the one being is, there does seem like this was pretty quick. So that raises concern to me. Number one, let's say that everybody defeats it and says, no, we don't want it. Maybe because we're just concerned it came up too fast. We're not ready for it. We're not educated enough. What happens then a couple years from now and we realize that, hey, Westerville may have been the better option than what we're left with now. And then Westerville's like, well, we tried to do something. Is that a concern? Like, why is this such a kind of a quick move? And if we don't approve it this time around, where are we going to be? And then my next question, in terms of me trying to answer this personally, benefits. So far, I hear zoning, which I agree, if I were a farmer, that is going to be even more crucial. But for most of us that are more residential, besides the zoning, right now I see more that, oh, my taxes are going to go up. So those are the two questions I have, and hoping we can get some more information to make a better educated answer.
Well, I'll try to answer the best I can. And my memory may be short. I may not totally remember your questions, but as far as if this doesn't pass this time, I don't know that there would be a next time. I'm not sure. I don't know. I can't see into that future. My concern is this whole process, not just this process, but this whole thing that all of us have been thrown into has happened so fast. 3 years ago, nobody knew anything about Intel. 3 years ago, well, there may be some folks that knew about Intel, but nobody on our level knew about Intel. 3 years ago, we were all thinking that Harlem Township only had to worry about whether or not somebody was going to build on 2.5 acres. We've been thrown into this, better choice of words probably, but a bulldozer coming at us full speed. I looked at our protections. I did not realize when I took this position, when I was voted in by y'all, that how little powers we had. We can pound our chest. I'm sorry. I'm echoing. Can y'all?
You mute because you're causing. Thank you.
Is that better?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I didn't hear myself. And as I said, my memory's short. I forget where I was.
Hold out there.
Yeah. We were thrown into this, and I don't know what the next thing would be, Jen. I really don't. We don't want a merger. I mean, I'm sorry, we don't. Freudian slip. If we decide we don't want a merger, I guess I was going to say, we darn sure don't want annexation.
Yes.
I don't know what the next step is. I really don't. The answer to your next question, I think it was taxes. As I said at the beginning, you may not have heard, I mean, our taxes are going to go up regardless. Prices are going up. It's, if you look at our finances and look at our records, we're gonna have to ask for more money if we want to maintain a fire department. Do I pay those taxes too? Do I like it? No. I don't know what level of government that can be fixed at. But we're gonna have increased taxes. But what I don't want to see, my biggest concern is that this township gets cut up into pieces. And that we don't have enough tax dollars to continue to have a fire department. And to continue to have a maintenance department, because we lose it to somebody that wants to come in here and put whatever they deem necessary to make the most money. That's what this whole thing has been about, trying to protect this township, keep it as close to what we all want it to be, knowing that it was going to change. We said that day one. And I don't know what other options we have.
Can I interject? I'm new to this. I just got elected this last rotation and coming into this, and this was a shock to me when I first heard it too. It's like, whoa, how is this gonna go over? This is a big deal. We need to look into this to see everything. There are other options on different paths we can go down to. However, this option goes to the vote. The other options we go down to, the board decides. This option goes to the public, goes to the residents. You guys get to decide. So that's why I would highly encourage you to get yourself best educated on it, understand the facts of it, understand the pros, understand the cons. Because if you guys don't want it, you have a chance to voice it. If you do want it and you think it's a good idea, after you listen to all the education topics on it, you guys can approve it and it's your decision. It's not the board's decision. Our decision will be, should we put this on the ballot for the residents to vote on? That makes any clarification?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can I ask?
Sure.
Mention one final thing. How much was the carryover? We're talking about the fire budget. How much was the carryover that is in this year's budget?
I don't have those numbers right in front of me, Bob, because I didn't anticipate.
Over $1 million.
Okay.
So the only point I'm making is we don't need a new levy.
I'm not saying,
I'm just, and well, it's been reported that we don't have money in the fire department.
well,
And
in the future.
in the future, but this could be 5 years down the road. Based on the budgets that from last year to this year, we have new equipment, we just got we have a new pumper. We have a new ambulance.
If we increase in population, which, is anybody in this room going to tell me they don't think we're going to increase in population?
But we're not going to increase at least for a couple of years. You agree there?
I.
We don't have sewer. We don't have water. We don't have electric.
Vote on fire levy.
Last year,
You're right,
last year, how many
but if you say no.
How many permits were issued for new homes last year? Mike,
About the same as, I don't know. the exact
30
number.
something, is 30 something reasonable? Is that
Well,
reasonable?
how about I just go get the exact. number?
Okay, good. Because the only point I'm making is that we do have some time. I totally agree, and I appreciate your clarification earlier that this is going to be a process. And Steve, I appreciate your input, and Molly as well. And I respect that, and I will work within that process. I misunderstood and it wasn't clear on the website when you were going to vote to put it. And I think it should be an option that's explored. There are other options. I got a call from someone yesterday that said that they are willing to partner with the township and et cetera. But
Who was that?
I'd rather not share because
No, and I'm fine, mate, Bob. It amazes me how many people suddenly start jumping on the bandwagon. Because where have they been for the last 2.5 years that we've talked to
it's a
people?
new and I did ask if I could share. The mayor of Galena called me yesterday. and said he does not make, he has to talk to council as well, but that is an option. Now, again, I'm not saying what that will be in terms of how it would pan out or anything else. I think the plan of looking at the Westerville situation is a good one at this point. And then it will go to the vote of the people and, you know, they will make the decision.
Well, I guess my one question I'd like to ask as one of the trustees is why did this person not call us, one of us, and talk, with all due respect, you're a resident of the township. You're not a spokesperson for the township.
That is correct.
So that's the first question. Second thing is, like I said, you know, the past administration, so be it, of that city had no desire. And that's all we had to base on. So we had to continue moving. We can't, you know, the other townships around us, we can take a look at what happens when you sit on your hands and don't keep moving forward. We've had to keep moving forward. That's the reason why once this option came up, we decided to move forward with the process. You know, we're not closing doors to anything. If a better process comes up, you know what? The day before the election, this could be shut off. It's that simple. So if something better comes along, I'm all for listening. If somebody can tell me how to protect this township better than what option we currently have in front of us, I'm all for it.
And as I said to begin with, the website indicated you were going to be voting whether to put it on the ballot. That was incorrect. And
we will at some point.
at some point, no, and I appreciate that and I respect that. Because it will give the residents an opportunity to hear both sides.
Yes.
And then make their educated
And
decision.
as I said, I told every reporter that I've talked to, and I never in my wildest dreams thought I would be speaking with reporters. That please get all the facts before you make a decision. Make sure you're making that decision informed, make sure you're making that decision for what's best, not just for my spot, but for the whole country. That's all I can ask.
One quick question. Carl.
Yes, sir.
Once a merger is agreed to and signed by any entity, let's say, does that protect the township from any guarantee, no possible annexation at that point on?
Once it's voted on and approved by is that what you're asking? I mean, once we agree to it, no, that's not protected. Once it's voted on and it becomes law, yes.
That guarantees no one can annex at that.
Correct.
So whatever entity is selected,
Yes,
same would apply.
yes. But, and part of that, so, well, whatever entity, now that, it can't be another township.
Let's follow up with Bob's statement on Elena, for example. What if
Okay.
the merger was made with Elena?
We have to look, part of what we looked at when we decided to even think about this was what they brought to the table, what they had to offer. You know, there was mentioned water, it was mentioned sewer, it was mentioned what kind of input they have on electric. All of those things have to be thought through because without those three, you have no development. Unless the merger moves really fast. You know, I mean, right now, to be honest with you, I was amazed at the power that some municipalities have over others. Kind of like, don't mess with them now we're talking to them. You know, I've been told that they can say that different places and it's like, really? So would I sit down and listen to the potential? Yeah. You know, I don't know logistically how we would stop one and move to the other. I'm not sure, Jerry. I don't have the answer for. Other than the fact that I'd hate I'd hate to have two potentials on a ballot. I don't know that that would not be smart to me. Yes, sir.
So if our comprehensive plan manages and limits and puts development in certain areas, because that's how we
Okay.
decided the
Right,
plan should be mindful of what parts should be developed more densely and what parts should be left. What is the big need for all this water and electric? If we're focused, if we're implementing the plan, why do we need all this? What's this? What's all the water and electric, like,
You still have to have for any development. I mean, right now. Information that's been coming through that I've heard through all of this process, certain utilities aren't prepared. To say the least, for any expansion.
does that include AEP and
Delco
water?
Oh. The only one that's probably gonna be sufficient enough to supply is gonna be sewage.
And we think that Westerville can get their water and electric over the lake. They can get it around the southern part of the lake using, they have no contiguous land to get to Harlan Township, so their water and electric, they would have to make easement agreements with the city of Columbus. And there we are, we're with the city of Columbus again. So they have no way of getting this water and electric without flying it in somehow, or massive infrastructure improvements to get it here. So how is that any different than the pipes that are already in the ground from Delco, or the lines that are already here?
Delco doesn't have the water.
Delco doesn't have the water. Delco would have all rights to water in our township.
Yeah, but they get their water from the same place that Westerville does, right?
Well.
Actually, Westerville.
Westerville could not bring the water in unless they were willing to work something out with Delco.
Okay.
Delco has all rights to Delaware County.
So
That's gonna be anybody. That's gonna be us. That's gonna be anybody.
So that whole discussion about water and electric just doesn't make any sense. That Westerville's the only one that can provide us water and electric. That's not true.
I've already got water. I got Delco.
And if our plan is limited, and we're not looking to put industry, we're not gonna build a big manufacturing plant, we're not gonna build some big,
God's sakes, Delco's gonna do it, do people.
then why are we that concerned?
If we do nothing, the land can be annexed. Developer can come in, buy the land and say, hey, Columbus, I want to be in there. I need power and water to come in.
That's a good point.
So that's to prevent that. When having some control over it, it'd be working those negotiations, I think, in this upcoming talks and futures. How does this work? How do we get water we need, the power we need? And I think that's what the negotiations are going to take place to have.
yourself?
If everybody online right now could mute, we'll try to get answers as we can. I mean, we can, Doug, your hand's still up. Doug, do you have a question, Doug? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
The answer to your question is 20.
New home.
20 homes? Okay. Thank you.
If the merge.
We need everybody online to mute, please.
Can I ask a question?
Ask his question.
Oh, okay, that. Back with you, Doug. Okay, go ahead, Doug.
Okay, I'm at 13808 Duncan Run Road. I've only been here for 6 or 7 years, and I've been watching the strategic plan. And my biggest concern from listening to everything this morning is the first thing that you said was we would have 9 months to work this out. Then the other gentleman got up and said this is going to be put on the ballot in May.
No.
That gives us about 60, 90 days to figure out what's going on. And I can tell you, my whole business is working with government. To figure anything out in 60 to 90 days is almost impossible.
And Doug, can everybody please, or Doug, can you move for a second? Thank you, because we're getting a lot of feedback. With all due respect, the question was about the May ballot, and we said it will not be then, it would be all the way out into November. So we have out until November for this to be placed on the ballot. Well, whatever, however many days before.
What the question was, is whether you were going to vote to put it on the ballot next
I
month.
would say he misunderstood.
And yeah, which was, led to believe on the website.
Okay,
And, that's not.
no, it will not be on the May ballot.
Side that says a resolution on March 20th from the trustees, and that's why everybody's thinking it's going to get put on the ballot in March.
In March, the trustees would be making a resolution to move forward with placing it on the ballot.
Discussion.
Or discussion, I'm sorry, discussion.
On
Work towards-
place it on the ballot.
Sorry, long night last night answering the phone. I apologize.
So can this process be delayed if need be? I mean, let's say all the answers, or all the questions haven't been answered by
There is a timeline that has to be kept.
back 6 months. Can we push it back a year to cycle of elections?
Ohio Revised Code only allows a 120-day process from when the start of the negotiations to an agreement to be reached. So there is an official timeline in the Ohio Revised Code,
Is the clock already ticking?
not yet.
Right, so if we push back if need be, push back the beginning of the clock.
I guess I have,
They're saying the clock is not starting ticking.
my concern goes back again to. We push it back this far, we push it back this far, we keep, as I love the comment saying, kicking the can down the road. If this is something that the township does not want, everybody in this, every voting person in this township in November can say no.
But then that means that if you say no, you can't restart and do it again because you yourself.
It doesn't mean we can't.
Consequences of a no vote.
It-
So is it a better option to kick the can down the road just a little bit, enough to get people comfortable, get more information out there? Or is that, it's an option, obviously, because the clock hasn't started to tick.
Potentially find the best partner.
There is an opportunity to evaluate that possibility as we go through the 120-day evaluation period that ends around the 20th of May. That gives us quite a bit of time here, for us to learn and for Westerville to learn, to communicate to all of you and see if that brings any clarity that allows us to believe this is something we want to pursue. So I think it's premature to have that conversation. So let's keep learning, let's keep talking, and we'll figure this out. That's my recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, you got interrupted before.
That's fine. I think it was Jan, I'm not sure, that made the comment about, what happens down the road and everything, and in conjunction with. My understanding is, if this would fail in November, we are back to the point where anybody could annex it instead. The other thing is that I kind of feel is, if we kick the can down the road, somebody can come in and annex us before we get this process. Is this right, or am I
Yes,
thinking wrong?
it could happen today. I mean, if it was it can happen anytime.
Anytime.
I mean, if you have a landowner anywhere in the township that is contiguous to an entity, municipality, they could request their property to be annexed at any time, yes.
The Columbus can't annex the entire township at once.
No.
And
No.
that's what people don't understand the difference.
And then when it would be all
The
split.
merger would be the entire township, yes.
The threat of annexation is all of Harlem Township is gonna be part of Columbus.
No, we're not. That is never, that has never. What, sir, please, that has never been said. What has been said, at least from this, and I'm sure from the.
You're saying, but the misconception is out there.
If the misconception is out there, then allow us to educate. I mean, you know what I'm saying? But I don't believe that, I don't think it's that widespread that misconception. What's been said is that what we are concerned about is if we start losing piecemeal of the township,
Understood.
primarily the southern and the eastern borders. The northeastern possible, there's, could happen up there, by a municipality up there. That hasn't really been a big concern, but it's on the board, it's on the radar. The difference between that and the merger is the entire township. The entire township becomes protected. If we start losing piecemeal any of the township to annexation, we potentially stand to lose tax revenue, which supports the fire department that everybody I know in this room loves. That's it. So if there's a misconception out there where anybody thinks that it ever came from this board, that it's no, it's not.
We have another question online.
Okay.
I'll go on. Is there a question on Zoom?
It doesn't have a name.
Good. Alex is
I'm Alex Richardson. I live at 16113 Needles Road, as many would probably assume. It is my father, Carl. I don't always agree with everything he says. And I too was caught off guard by all this, and when I heard it, I was a little hesitant. All I'm gonna say, I haven't made my mind up 100%, is I just hope that everybody doesn't make a decision today. They don't make a decision tomorrow. Look at all the facts, look at the pros, look at the cons. I just left my job of 15 years. It took me and my wife 6 months to make that decision, because we had to weigh everything out. This is going to be life-changing for all of us. You have to look at what happens if we don't. I can tell you what's going to happen on the southern end. Columbus is there. They're knocking at the door. It's going to be apartments. It's going to be Lord knows what. Look at the crime on Polaris Parkway. Ask those businesses, ask those people what happens when you call for police. They don't come. They tell you to file a report online. When they do come, they come hours later. I know I don't want that. I want somebody to come when I call for help.
Polaris is Westerville.
No, Polaris Parkway is the city of Columbus.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Yes.
That's anecdotal, that's not fact, you don't know that.
I don't know that. I just got out of a job 15 years with the Delaware County Sheriff's Office. We work hand in hand with Columbus. I deal with that stuff. I talk to those people. They call us when they aren't happy. So again, let's learn all the information before we make a decision. My point is just this simple. Let's just don't spew information that we don't know is true or false. Find out, ask questions. I love all the questions. Ask the questions. And if you aren't 100% sure, find out the truth before we make statements. Facebook and Nextdoor and everything. I've been reading the comments and I want to pull my hair out. Because I see people saying things that, and yes, Columbus is not going to take us over in a day. They're going to have to go piece by piece. But when they start taking away pieces, that cuts away tax revenue. Tax revenue is what funds the fire departments, what funds the roads. It funds things in this township. Which means your taxes are going to go up to make up for that. That's all I have to say. I hope everybody just, like I said, just absorb it, take it in. We have, Steve, how long is it before until November?
We have to get the agreement done basically by the end of May.
Right.
With Westerville.
And then we have until November to learn and to make a real decision.
Yeah, that whole rest of that period will be an education process for people to learn what we have now agreed to. And then decide whether they agree with that.
And then November, everybody will be able to decide whether they agree or not, and it'll be on the ballot. That's all.
Yes, ma'am.
I have, Last time I came to a meeting, there was a gentleman trying to rezone a part of our street into industrial. If we merge over, because we somehow got some blockage, he can't do it now. But if we merge over with Westerville, could he do that?
Our zoning stays intact. That's part of our agreement.
He'll never be.
Our zoning stays intact. That's part of our agreement. But you can't say never, because the public could vote. The public, the Harlem.
I
Township.
still don't understand why we're so, we're so vulnerable right now. I don't
Because
understand.
townships have no teeth. I don't know how else to say it. We have no legislation power. And right now, like I said, there is developers and big businesses talking with the state legislators, trying to remove zoning and referendum power from the townships. So they're trying to take away our last two teeth.
I feel like that, actually. I feel like even y'all are trying to. I feel like.
Ma'am, I'm sorry you feel that way, but what we are suggesting here is going to put it on the ballot for you to vote on. If you're in November or 100% against it, please walk in and pull the thing and say no.
I told you I will.
Okay, and I respect that. Thank you.
But I want to know.
How much open land is there in Harlan Township for developers to grab, probably, and for warehouses and apartments, and we're afraid of?
I don't know if Jim Steelsmith is on. Jim, do you have the acreage numbers? I don't have it right on top of my head now. I don't know, if you drive over, if you haven't already, go over along county line in that area, there's a lot of open land. There's a lot of open land along the southern.
Jim will give you that, but it's thousands.
It's thousands of acres.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah,
guys.
Jim,
Yeah, so south of Gorsuch, there's 6,000 open acres.
did you hear that? South of Gorsuch, 6,000 open acres,
That's from east to west.
east to west.
And we get calls from developers all the time.
Yeah, we have the developers constantly calling us about that area. Yes, yeah, hang on just a second, Amy.
If there were a merger, who would govern our township? Would we then be governed by?
Part of the negotiation is that we want to form a board of Harlem residents to have any zoning request come to that board then takes it to city council. So it would have to go through our board first.
But essentially, we would kind of be governed by the city of West Virginia.
Yeah. You would be. Yes.
So we'll vote for the
City of
mayor.
Westerville.
we'll
You'll vote-
for mayor instead of a trustee.
We will also, if this all goes through, we will also have 5,000 potential votes as far as who sits on one of the city council boards. Yes. 4,800. I'm sorry, 40, okay. Bob, you know what, please.
I've got the number
All right,
of
please.
exactly how many registered.
How many registered voters do we
I
have?
don't have it with me, but I did
All
research
right,
it.
you know
I
what?
researched the number that Worcester will have. Now, look, Carl, I am willing to look at this and try to be open-minded,
All right.
but I want, you said.
And if I may ask, excuse me for a minute, if I may ask for everybody's forgiveness in this room, I misspoke when I said that number. But all of the registered voters that we have in Harlem Township will be able to vote for council members on the Westerville City Council.
And there are 7 council members, and I've got the number of votes that number of voters Westerville has as well.
Oh, they've got a lot more,
All at large.
they have a lot more, but yes, I understand that.
Okay, I only have one other question. Will any of this change affect the small business owners in the township? The merger with what could it potentially affect the status of all of us in Harlem?
As
Township
far as what,
that are
Amy?
small?
Are you whether or not they can continue to?
Somebody
else's jurisdiction? Or are the businesses that are here going to be kind of grandfathered in and we're allowed
That's
to?
part of what we've
we're allowed
asked,
to do
that,
business without being hampered in any way?
that's part of what we're going at with our negotiations is that our zoning stays intact. That we are, and I hate, for better use of wordage, umbrella, our current stuff stays like it is.
Okay.
These are all negotiated items that haven't even really been. Yes, sir. Well, I'm sorry, this is somebody else.
Carl, Matt Shell.
Yeah,
I
man.
just had a question, maybe it was covered earlier, it was a little bit late. How many of these existing mergers are there in the inner cities, townships like Mifflin, Clinton, Genoa, Blendon? Are these similar protections that they've used to prevent annexation?
Mergers, according to the Ohio Township Association, what I've been told, are rare. They are used for protection, yes.
So what's prevented these other townships from needing these steps that we're pursuing?
What prevented them from doing it?
Their borders are certainly closer to the inner city areas than what we are, and they still exist. Are we being fed a false premise that this is something we have to do?
I know what I'd like to say. I think there are reasons. I have no idea why they didn't. I think this board took a proactive approach to trying to protect the township. And this is one of the options we found out about.
Matt, I did some research on whether townships and municipalities have merged. And a lot of the examples are where the township got ate up by annexation and then the part of the township was left by an island alone by itself. And there's another part over here. And then they had to do the servicing and it was just a disaster. So they decided, well, let's just become, because they just let annexation run through and they didn't protect the borders.
They merged after.
After the fact.
After the fact, a lot of them.
And Mr. Chairman, I think this is a little different situation too. The communities that you mentioned were contiguous to an aggressor, so to speak. We're not. This is something legislative, that we're not contiguous, but it's possible to do a merger. Westerville is sort of landlocked. So this is an opportunity for them as well as for us to get a strategic partner that will help us in our defense.
Following up on this question, why is it that Genoa Township hasn't been annexed by Westerville? What did Genoa Township do?
They have
They've been annexed.
Yeah, Ben.
Westerville annexed.
Not all of it, but.
Westerville annexed 800 and some acres of their property.
Pardon?
Westerville annexed 800 and some acres of their property of Genoa Township. To stop Columbus from annexing into Genoa.
Yeah.
The big thing that stops annexation in those areas is you have a whole bunch of little individuals. You have each homeowner in Genoa Township would have to agree to that annexation. So they couldn't come in and annex an entire neighborhood without knowing each one of those homeowners that annexed one at a time. Here we have huge tracts of land that they can take that one tract of land all at once.
Yes, sir.
Bill Murphy, 9680 Covan. I'm at the very southern part of the district. I can hear the bulldozers working in Columbus right now where I live. If we don't do something, I can take a slingshot and hit Columbus property or Franklin County. If we don't do something, I'm afraid we're going to be annexed by Columbus. And if you think Westerville taxes are high, look at Columbus taxes. Look at Columbus's building code. The church I go to recently had to merge into Columbus from Linden Township so we could get sewer. The plans we had to expand went from being 3 months out to being over a year before we could do any type of expansion. You're looking at those type of problems with that happening. As far as the fire department, I love them. 6 years ago, I had a major stroke. I was unconscious when they got me to the hospital. And with Roseville Fire Department, I wouldn't even be able to speak today. I mean, Harlem Township Fire Department. So I'm very thankful for that.
Thank you.
But I'm not saying one way or the other with this. I want to read the facts and get it. But I've weighed the options, what I've seen thus far, and just the fact that it's gonna be Westerville, Columbus, or New Albany, let's go do the annexation where I live. I think Westerville is a lesser of the three evils that I'm faced with. Like I said, I hear bulldozers on a regular basis where I live. And there's big pieces of property ready to be developed right close to me now, and I'm scared.
There are 3,445
Okay, so I was 1,500 off roughly. I'm not good at math, I'm sorry. Yes.
Ken Boggs has a question on.
Ken, go ahead. Ken Boggs. Unmute yourself. Ken, are you still there?
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Hey, here's what you guys have got to understand. I've been through this before, and I keep moving from one part of Delaware to another part. They keep taking us over. We have to look at this situation from two perspectives. What can we offer Westerville and what Westerville can offer us? We have to be good partners. And when these guys negotiate, I'm assuming I've known Carl a little bit. He's a pretty straight up guy. He's going to do the best he can for the township. You have to put your trust in him and the strategic zoning committee. And so here's what you got to look at. Right now, I live at 5360 Smothers Road. Look by that nice shaft building behind my house for the sewer line for the city of Columbus. They ain't doing that for free. That's going to be paid by developers in the long run. They're right behind my yard. As you come up on Smothers Road, you can't miss it. There's 13.5 acres right there that's going to be for sale soon. I've been telling the guy and trying to hold that off from going to sell to a developer for the last 2 years. And once that sewer line goes in, he can get a lot of money for that land, and then that gives them the chance to annex into Harlem Township. And he's listing. So far, I've held him off from doing that because I know what it's going to do to all of us. So here's what you have to do: make sure that Carl and those guys know your needs and your desires. Put them in emails to him, let him communicate with you, and trust these guys to do the best they can. When it comes to the bottom line, you don't have a lot of power. You have 2 teeth left. If the legislature takes that from us in the next 6 months or a year, then you have 0. Annexation will take up through Harlem Township with no trouble. Everyone says there's always a price. If a developer makes that price, that land beside me, behind me goes, and then we're all crying in the wind. So trust these guys, do the best they can. Let your voice be heard, be respectful, and let Westville know that we can work it out with them. We'd be happy to. If we can't work it out with them, then we're going to do what we have to do from the next perspective. Again, this is not something just on our side as Harlem Township representatives. I've been here about 6 or 7 years. I love the township. I hate to see what's happening, but we have to face reality, as Carl says. So let's do the best that we can with what we can while we have a little power left. Once we lose all that power, then we're up a creek. Now, the other thing I'd like to ask for you guys is let's all get the information. Let's see what Westville is going to be asking from us, because in every negotiation, everybody wants something and they give up something, and hopefully it will work out. But we don't know what they want. We don't know what Westville is feeling towards taking on the responsibility of our roads and helping maintain all that stuff. Because, you know, if I looked on a map, Harlem Township right now looked to me about 2.5 times the size of the city of Westville. That's a lot of roadway, a lot of police cover, a lot of fire department situations. They're taking on some responsibility too. Let's work as good partners and good faith to make this work for everyone. You know, Columbus, when they did that win-win situation back in the 70s for the school systems, that was a tough situation, but they made it a win-win. Let's see if Carl and these guys can pull it off, make it a win-win for Westville and for Harlem Township. Give it a chance. Let's get the facts, get the details, but let's not go in with closed minds to be upset. I don't think, from my knowledge and working this stuff, I used to be an attorney for about 35 years. I know negotiation may take some time, and it's delicate at times because it gets pretty intense, but give the guys a chance. You guys are running out there passing all these things, holding a little. Carl just made a comment, maybe 1,500 votes different. Let's not get all the details yet. Let's let him work it out. Let the people in the planning committee work it out and see what they bring us in May, and then we'll know what we're dealing with. Right now, we need the fire department to be at their best. We need more fire department. We need more police protection. Right behind us, that the park up the road from us, the mobile home park, the cops there so often, and those are always coming from Delaware County and Westville. These guys have got their hands full. The growth is coming. We can't stop it. We might be able to slow it down and protect us as much as possible. Let's be open-minded, folks. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Yeah, I don't see anything else. Yeah.
So what happens with our levies that we have here if this merger happens? Does Westernville vote on our levies then, or how does that all work out?
My understanding, and there again, I'm coming into this with some, and our levies, basically, everything merges to the financial side of Westerville, basically. So our fire department, the funding will come through from the taxes collected that way. Our levies, I guess, for better choice of words, kind of get merged.
So we won't have to vote on those then?
Yeah, I think they still.
I don't know. That's
That's a good point to
Yeah.
bring up to the strategic planning committee tonight to, when they go to negotiations, to get those questions answered.
These are all things that, there again, these are all negotiated items that we're going at. Then you're right, it needs to be addressed. I don't, this is at such a beginning, Steve said, this is a starting line. The only thing negotiation wise is what I said when these guys first started talking to anybody. I had been told by numerous residents, I am not giving up, bop. And that's what I told them. That's what that's our starting line. If that threshold isn't brought forward at the beginning and we don't have some kind of reassurance, a nod or whatever, stop, move on.
And can you explain again at what point this negotiated agreement is becoming like the devil is in the details? At what point do we get a chance to participate or review or see? Because there was some discussion about there's an agreement that has to be voted on, and then it goes to the ballot. So if the agreement comes out and it's not favorable, or we don't like it, we don't like the agreement, is there a revision process, or is just that the agreement?
Well, there will be an, excuse me. You know, once these guys vote in March, with a resolution to proceed, right? At that point, the clock will start for the 120-day merger agreement process. During, and I suspect we're gonna have more meetings before then, to kind of keep the education going. But the 120 days ends about the 25th, right before Memorial Day. Okay, so at that point, we've got to have signed something. So there will be engagement for I think the listening sessions or input sessions, basically from here on out. I mean, we're listening now, but there will be more formal ones being part of that 120-day process. That will be totally public. And so there will be opportunity. Now, having said that, it's got to meet the needs of all, right? And so there may be a faction of people that don't like some of the outcomes, and well, that's the way it works sometimes. And then at that point, these guys will have to sign a negotiated agreement jointly with Westerville. That then starts the process to move it to the ballot. But then even after that, there will be I guess months, it's gonna be a long summer. There's gonna be months of getting together with people to talk about what this means. But it would be misleading to say at that point, we're still soliciting input, right? I mean, the agreement will be what it is. Now we have to determine as Harlem Township if that's what we collectively want. So from now until about the end of May is the critical period of time for us to be open and being inclusive of all the people that want to join in this process. And that's our commitment. So we're going to do that. And like I said earlier, we just started the process yesterday and in some cases the day before with the leak of that website. So
And
to answer the question,
Yes, it did.
okay.
to add just a little sideline to what Steve just said, that gentleman sitting right back there, Jerry, before you get up, I'm talking about you for a second. When I first decided to run for this office, what he said, at the end of the day, and at the end of your 4 years, if you can honestly look and say you had 50% of the people still that don't want to kill you, you did a good job. I think I passed that on to him when he decided to run. So, I mean, as Steve said, it's not gonna be 100% everybody's gonna love it.
Negotiation is.
I just like to say quickly, knowing the people that I know on the strategic planning committee, there's very good people, smart people, and they put hours and hours of work into this. And I don't want to take an ounce of credit away from them. I think we do need to have all the questions answered. You know, there's a lot more questions out there.
Yes.
We'll get those answers, won't we? We will. And so I think keep that in mind. We got a good board of trustees here. They're dedicated to you as this township, and I think we gotta be thankful for that, you know, so that's my only comment.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yes.
Quick one, the worry I saw was none of us were aware of the action to remove zoning or referendums going on. Are we putting that on our site and making all the residents aware of that? Or maybe who we should be, what legislature we should be contacting?
I'll be honest with you, that is gonna definitely be being brought up at our meetings. I would have liked to have seen that on there, but,
Yeah.
you know, that was more meant as a question and answer, not any dart thrown. We'll start throwing darts. I'll throw darts.
Yeah, that's a real threat immediately. We
It
should
is.
help every resident blow up our legislators' phones and emails, tell them we did not.
Absolutely.
We'll take, that's a great idea. We're talking about it tonight and at the meetings, it's on the slides. But I hadn't thought about alerting residents how to make their voice known to the people that'll vote on that, so we'll add that to the list.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Do Westerville taxes pay for trash pickup?
That I don't know, to be honest with you. So like I said, this is all new. A lot of this is new. I mean, we haven't even got it. That's getting down into the meat of the.
Well, I mean, they provide
Yeah.
police and fire.
Right.
I think they provide.
I would venture to say, yeah, I'm gonna,
They do. I lived in Westerville for 14.
okay.
I mean, that's
fair.
saved you $400 a year right there.
Yeah, but I can, the taxes never stopped going up, which is why I moved.
Yeah. Well, they said it was both on 100.
Now you know how to.
All right, unless there's anything else, I appreciate everybody, you know, listening, talking.
See you now.
Please come tonight. And, you know, y'all got ways to contact me and these other.
If anybody wants a copy of the letter the trustees were voting on, Ian has them here to pass out.
Should I entertain a motion to adjourn? Or, yeah.
So moved.
I mean, to all in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign.
Absolutely.
Can I get something going for a neighbor?
Yeah.
It had to work. Thank you. Honestly, a couple of churches have worked out. Thanks.
Be available to interview.
Together or individually?
I only need one of you, so whoever wants to do it.